Welcome to Leveraging Your Reality, where mindset meets movement. I'm Siobhan Terrell Camper, your realignment coach and partner in growth. This channel is for leaders, parents, and people who want to stop surviving and start showing up as a healthier version of themselves in life, in relationship, and leaderships. If you are ready to align with your truth and elevate, you are in the right place. Now, today, interesting topic around rules and expiration dates. I'll tell you where this all started. Back in August, my kids went back to school, and I decided to let me start cooking in the morning. I have not ever enjoyed cooking. I remember being a kid. I don't know how old I was. It was a Thanksgiving day, and I looked at the chaos that was happening around cooking. And right then and there, in that moment, my younger self decided we are not going to do this. Not only are we not going to do this, we're not ever going to get good at this, because I know when you are good at something, people request it, they want it, they ask for you to bring it. So my theory was don't ever get good at cooking. And in having a family, even if I didn't want to be good at something, we had to eat. And eating out, of course, is too expensive to do all the time. So I would cook. And I cooked meals. It was what it was. I mean, they were edible. We'll call it a day. And eventually, my mother-in-law ended up moving in with us to help us out with the kids. And I relinquished my cooking responsibilities because I never wanted it to begin with. And we fast forward to now. My mother-in-law no longer lives with us. And the kids and I have been rotating cooking days. I have drugged them into my misery because I don't want to cook every day. Somebody has to help me. So we have rotated cooking days, and we were using HelloFresh for months, maybe even a year of using HelloFresh. Then my son started getting tired of HelloFresh, and he convinced my husband that we don't need to do HelloFresh anymore, and HelloFresh was out the door. It was a task getting the kids to cook with instructions. Now, my daughter, she was good with it. She loved being in the kitchen, naturally wanted to bake. I was so adverse to the kitchen that when she showed an interest in baking, she was so young. I sat down and was like, honey, this is your interest, not mine. I'm going to show you how to use everything in this kitchen, and you're going to knock yourself out. So we have videos of her at a young age in the kitchen by herself because I didn't want to be in the kitchen. And talking about all this out loud is actually kind of funny. Like, gosh, you really just didn't want to do that. You left your baby girl in the kitchen by herself baking just because you didn't want to do it. Okay, I'll work through that later. But we fast forward when my husband was like, nope, we're done with HelloFresh. You got enough recipes. Figure it out yourself now. The boys, especially my nephew and my son, boy, they were struggling in the kitchen. It was not fun. It was not nice. Food was sometimes inedible. But for me, I was like, man, I don't even care as long as I don't have to cook. Now, with the kids going back to school, I decided I don't know what gave me this idea. Actually, I do know what gave me this idea. I was asked, one of the questions I've been asking myself is, how do I want to nourish my family? How do I want to nourish my business today? How do I want to nourish myself today? And instead of asking myself, what do I need to get done? How do I need to get it done? And in asking myself this nourishment question about family, what came up was maybe I should just cook in the morning so that when the kids come home, they have food already and cooking doesn't have to be a stress in our house. And I was like, I'll experiment with it, see how it goes. The kids leave out for school in the morning, and I started cooking. Something real interesting happened. I enjoyed it. And all of my thoughts were like, what's happening? We don't enjoy this. What do you mean you enjoy it? Like, I'm going through all these things in my head because logically it makes no sense. Like, I said I wasn't going to cook. I wasn't going to like cooking. I just X'd out cooking in my world, but somehow or another I enjoyed it. And, first week, things can be enjoyable. The second week, I still enjoyed it. The third week, I was just flat out confused about the level of enjoyment because not only was I enjoying cooking, I was actually hitting a flow state while cooking. And it's a few things I learned about myself in cooking in the morning. One is one of the reasons why I haven't liked cooking is because of the level of pressure that's involved in it. Come home, everybody's hungry, long day of work, and now I need to produce something. I don't just need to produce something, I need to produce something that's good. So I didn't like the pressure and chaos that came from cooking. The other thing I learned is that I really don't enjoy being interrupted while cooking. So I prefer to cook alone. And having the pressure removed and having the people removed in the kitchen helped me to like really hit a flow state. And because my mind was so confused by this, I really had to just start sitting with, wow, I made up this rule that I am not going to cook years ago. And now that I am starting to have a different relationship with cooking, the question is, does the rule still apply? And many of the rules that we are following, they're self-generated. Like I self-generated that rule of don't learn how to cook, don't like it, don't get good at it. And throughout my life, for years, I have supported that rule being true. And having this moment of it not being true confused my systems. And the thing about our mind is that it works for safety. It will tell you just about, and this is the subconscious mind, it will tell you anything to keep you safe. So it'll remind you and throw all the scripts out of like, remember, we don't do this, and these are all the reasons that we don't do it. And oftentimes it can box us in from evolving. Like my relationship with cooking doesn't have to stay the same my entire life. That's not true. But my subconscious mind might make me believe that it does. And sometimes we have ourselves so boxed in and we restrict ourselves from things that we actually want to really experience. I have been enjoying cooking so much so that I was talking to my husband. I was like, man, I think I want to go to culinary school, take some classes at the community college to really learn how to do this because the time I spend in the kitchen has become a time of peace and a time of creativity. And something about me is I truly enjoy learning. So I'm like, I want to learn. I really want to learn more about this. And I was on the phone with my coach today, and one of the things we were talking about is noticing what we are naturally being pulled towards or gravitating towards. And in allowing myself to experience what is happening with cooking and realize like, oh, I'm being pulled toward. I want to do more of it. Like I look up recipes now. It is the craziest thing ever. I look up recipes now like, ooh, I want to cook this. I ask the family, ooh, what do you want me to cook? I'm making snacks and baking things. And that is what I'm naturally being pulled towards. And so often when we are being pulled to things that are outside of our norm, we allow logic to detour us from whatever the pull is. And we stop ourselves from having these experiences. I don't know why I am gravitating towards cooking right now. I don't know why. I'm like, I just want to learn about this. But I am going to allow myself to expire that rule of I don't want to cook because of all these reasons. Like that rule is now, it's not serving me anymore. So it's time to get rid of it. I really want you to take a moment and think about some of the rules that you've been following that may even be causing some resistance. That may be the key is when you notice the friction in a rule and it's not serving anymore, but because we made the rule up, we want to keep it. Let's be clear. One of the exercises that I do with clients around the past is taking a look back to find out when a rule was created in your life. And oftentimes we create rules in childhood from bad experiences. And whether it is you're in your younger years in elementary school, middle school, high school, we don't want to follow the rules of a kid in directing our life. Like, I don't know how old I was when I made that rule. Let's go with 12. A 12-year-old version of me should not have the power to be making decisions about the current grown woman version of me. And this is what happens when we experience trauma. So the trauma moment happens, right? After the trauma moment happens, we consciously and or subconsciously make a rule. And moving forward, we continue to apply that rule until we choose to challenge the rule. And this comes up where someone might say, it was just so weird. I noticed that when that person triggered me for whatever reason, I just spiraled. I blacked out and I said all these things that I didn't mean to say. You didn't actually black out. You reverted to a younger mindset. And we don't want teenagers, little kids directing important parts of our lives, like our relationship, our career, our family. But when we don't deal with the unhealed stuff and the rules that was made from all of the unhealed stuff, what happens is our younger selves in those moments hijack us and we start operating like a 10-year-old, like a teenager, versus operating from who we are today. Some rules that we have, it is so time for them to expire. It has run its course. It has been long enough. Some people are not in relationships because of the rules that they applied. Some people won't allow themselves to grow in career because of the rules they applied. Some people won't evolve their parenting skills because of the rules that they've had in the past. Some people can't even have friends because of old rules. And it's not saying that all of these rules are irrelevant, but what I challenge you to do is start getting clear on the rules that you're following in those moments. And you can even check back to see, like, how old was I when I created this? Just to see how long standing it's been. Some rules don't always need to be completely wiped out. Some rules just need to be evolved and updated. And in that evolution of that rule, it gets to operate differently in your life because our brain is following a whole bunch of rules that we put in there, society put in there, family put in there. And if we are blind to the rules that we are following subconsciously, there are always going to be these frictions within our lives that the rule is working. Your mind is working to make that rule true. It's doing everything it can to make that rule true. So if you have a rule that that all a certain type of people are no good for whatever reason, your mind is going to show you evidence to prove that true. If you have a rule that it is unsafe to talk to strangers, well, in adulthood, that's going to mean you don't want to go to networking events. That's going to mean you don't even want to go to certain friends gatherings if you don't know a certain amount of people. And those rules just keep us isolated and stunted in our growth. And part of getting into alignment with yourself and realigning is being willing to come into situations and look at them neutrally. Like, what's happening right now? So many of us, our past is alive today because we keep keeping all those rules from our past true and not challenging them. We can believe just about anything we want to believe. We just have to give ourselves a rule to follow, and it will be true to you. May not be true to everybody else, but it will be your truth. And you will do whatever you can to make that thing true. It is, I say all the time, like, in reality, because there is a reality that We are often living to keep things true. Oh, another place this comes up is in career, where actually had a client with this one. She from a child she wanted to be a lawyer, and she's in the legal field, and but not a lawyer, and she was making this a terrible bad thing because she wasn't a lawyer, and not 100% sure if she said she was saying she wanted to go to law school, but for all these years she hasn't gone to law school. And I asked, hey, how old were you when you decided you wanted to be a lawyer? And it was in childhood. Kid. So it's like, hey, are you going to allow that 10-year-old to dictate your career? It's not saying that the 10-year-old is wrong. It's like, hey, let's put up into view what the 10-year-old said to see if that is still your truth today. Because today you have a lot more wisdom, you have a lot more understanding than that 10-year-old ever had. And the decisions that you make today are different from the ones that 10-year-old would have made, which brings up another point that the rules that you make for yourself today in this phase of life may have to change in another phase of life. And it is okay to change the rules. You're older, you're wiser, and you know more, you're more equipped. And as we become older, wiser, more equipped, we can adjust our rules. An example of this too is in childhood, there is a rule for most kids: don't talk to strangers. Do not talk to strangers. It is unsafe to talk to strangers. And if that stays true throughout the entirety of your life, is what I mentioned before, like networking is going to be hard. It's going to be difficult for you to build community. It's going to be difficult for you to build friendships. At that time, it may have been important for that child not to talk to strangers because they didn't have enough wisdom. They could not position themselves to make certain type of decisions, to vet if this is a person that they should be spending time with. And in childhood, you're more likely to be taken advantage of. But now we done fast forward 10, 15, 20, 30, sometimes even 40 years for people. Holding that same rule will hold you back in life. Talking to strangers is networking, meeting new people, and keeping that rule live throughout the entirety of your life naturally will hold you back. And that's just one example of check your rules. See if it's time to expire some of these rules. See if it's time to evolve some of these rules so that you aren't the one holding yourself back to becoming the next healthier version of yourself. So you aren't the one holding yourself back from being more aligned with living a lifestyle that's in accordance with you. All right, people, I think that is enough for today. Again, I challenge you, look at the rules that you're following. If you are struggling to see the rules that you're following, go to the friction. Look for places or relationships in your life where you constantly have conflict. Conflict holds a lot of information, people. Look for those places where you have conflict. Figure out, okay, what is the conflict that I'm having, and connect and associate a rule to it. What's the rule that I'm following that keeps this conflict alive? Once you do that, you have your rule, and you could challenge that rule. You could evolve that rule so that it is supporting who you are today and not causing all this conflict in your life. Remember, growth isn't always easy, but when we do it together, it becomes more possible. If you found this valuable, hit subscribe and share it with someone who's on their journey. We don't grow alone, people. We grow together. Until next time, keep showing up and keep leveraging your reality.